Up, guys? I'm Jeff James. There's an alarm going off right now as we speak in my ear, and I'm dying. There we go. Holy crap. Anyways, guys, welcome. What is up? Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Welcome to Diggity, a video game podcast. I'm Jeff James. As always, with me, the incredible, unobtainable, luscious Brody Faults, my friend. How are you?
Well, I'm doing good. I literally just finished show notes as we went live, so
There we go.
rushed myself a little bit tonight. But yeah, other than that, I'm peachy. How about yourself?
Good. I'm doing pretty good. Just ready for the weekend. I know it's Thursday, but also stoked to be doing the show. It's a pretty thick show. It's a thick boy tonight.
Yeah.
We've got quite the news going on.
Thick sode. I underestimated. Yeah, I definitely underestimated how much I actually had here. So.
Good God. I also think there's a little bit of delay in the Discord, so I think we're fucked on that. So that's great.
I was just going to say, I'm pretty sure there's a terrible delay in the Discord, actually. It's
Really?
real bad.
Is it really bad?
Yeah, a couple seconds, probably.
Well, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Okay, through the magic of broadcasting, we're back, right? Better?
Hey.
There we go. Great. Perfect. Fantastic. Fantastic. That's how we do it here. Anyways, yeah, so big show today. We've got State of Play. We've got the Switch OLED version, OLED Model to talk about. We've got Assassin's Creed Infinity. We've got some upcoming games coming out. My lordy, McGordy, it's a good show. So stay tuned. Stay in there and hang out with us. If this is your first time ever watching the show on YouTube or Twitch, welcome. And if this is your first time listening to the show on your podcast platform of choice, because we're on every single podcast platform, welcome. We do this show live every Thursday night around 9:30 Eastern Time. That's 6:30 Pacific for you peasants out there on the West Coast. And we do the audio version of the show. Goes up very early morning on Friday morning, typically around like 5:30 in the morning, so you can listen to it on your morning commute, amongst all the other things you do. So welcome, and I guess kind of jump in what we've been playing, man.
Yeah, so I've played a little bit of Mario Golf. We actually played it over at your house, that was a great time.
It was.
Honestly, that game as a party game is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Playing it by yourself, not my favorite, but as a party game, a lot of fun. We actually even my 6-year-old played with us as well.
He did really well.
Pretty cool. Yeah, he actually did pretty good. I was surprised. We played some Smash Bros as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then outside of that, I mean, really, I've played a little bit of Rocket League as usual, and then I've been kind of powering through Scarlet Nexus, which I just hit the point where it actually is starting to grip my attention. There for a while, I was kind of like, man, I don't know if I can get into this game, and it's finally gotten to the point where the story kind of is picking up, and I'm getting used to the gameplay, and I really enjoy it now. So
Sweet.
Finally getting there, and super excited to continue that. And it's even, the story's nothing groundbreaking necessarily, but the way that it's written, it seems like if you were to go through and do that second playthrough with the other character, you'll get a pretty different story just by the way it's laid out. I don't know that for a fact, but it does seem like it would be quite different based on the events that have happened so far with Kasane. So very cool. What have you been playing?
Sweet. Well, I've been playing Mario Golf like yourself. Obviously, we played that together. Played some Overwatch, of course. And then I actually am pretty far into Ratchet and Clank so far. So I'm almost done. Almost done it. I've been going around and collecting a little bit more things. Unlike me, I'm not a completionist at all. I kind of just like to get the story done, and then I go back to it. Oh boy. Okay, you live? You there?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I was refreshing it because we were starting to get the delay again.
God.
So.
I don't understand the delay. It's got to be Discord at this point, but that's crazy.
It is Discord.
Oh, Discord. I love you and hate you at the same time. But anyways, yeah. So ripping through Ratchet and Clank, loving it. God, it's such a good game. Oh my goodness, it is so good, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I really enjoy all of the time that I put into it, which was about 21 hours or so to 100% it, and I got all of the guns that you get in the first playthrough up to level 5 and pretty much fully upgraded. I spent a little bit of extra time just kind of ironing out some of the little details just because I wasn't really ready for it to be over with, and I really hope that we get some DLC for this game or something because I absolutely adore this game. It's so good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just stoked for when they actually put DLC out for it. But I don't know. Are you serious? It's that bad with Discord right now?
Yeah, it's like every 10 seconds it starts
I
to
don't
cut
understand because you're so smooth on my end through
Yeah.
Discord. Like there's nothing wrong
Yeah.
on my end. I hate technology so much, bro. I love it and hate it at the same time. It makes no sense.
Gonna have to go back to Google Hangouts.
Oh God. I mean, I'm hardwired in. I've got everything go. You're hardwired in. I don't understand. However, there's
Yeah.
supposedly a bug out there at Discord. This is well known. Who knows?
Yeah,
Anyways,
it's been the last 2 episodes that we've seen
I know. Yeah.
these major issues, really.
Pain in the ass. We might have to go back to
Ugh.
Google Duo because it's not Hangouts anymore. We used Hangouts for so long they renamed
Yeah.
it. So, all right, you want to hit us with the upcoming releases?
Yeah, so July 9th, Black Skylands is coming to PC. Monster Hunter Stories 2 Wings of Ruin is coming to PC and Switch. July 13th, Curved Space is coming to Switch. Outsider Afterlife is coming to PC. Where the Heart Leads is coming to PS5 and PS4. On July 14th, Skydome is coming to PC and Space Punks is coming to PC. And on July 15th, Labyrinth City Pierre the Maze Detective is coming to Switch. And Space Jam A New Legacy, the game, is coming to PC and Xbox.
Wow, a movie game.
Oh, you gotta love the movie games.
I haven't seen a movie game in a long time.
I'm okay with not seeing movie games.
Oh man, is there anything on here
yeah,
that
I
kind of
don't
catches
know.
your interest at all, or no?
I'm really interested in Monster Hunter Stories 2. I've been playing through the demo of that, which I forgot to mention in the what we're playing section there. Really enjoying it. I mean, it's kind of like a more advanced version of rock paper scissors, right? Like
Right, yeah.
you kind of learn the patterns of what different people are going to be doing, or what different monsters are going to be doing, and you just kind of get a feel for that. I mean, the first time through, you're just kind of guessing. But once you get that figured out, it's not too bad. And then on top of that, I mean, there's some added elements to it where it's not just a simple rock, paper, scissors type deal. But the nice thing about this is the kids were real interested in playing Monster Hunter, and I told them it would probably be too hard for them. So they wanted to play something, and this just so happens to be coming out here, obviously, very soon. And I'll probably end up picking this up, both for them and for me, just to see, if they end up enjoying it, and I'll definitely play through it, and I'm having a blast with it. So other than that, that's about it.
Yeah.
How about you?
There's not much that has been kind of that I've been looking at that's been like, oh my gosh, I need to play that. But I am interested to see how the Space Jam game goes. Considering,
I'm sure it's going to
everything.
be great.
But we'll have to see. Anyways, yeah. So moving on from that, we've got kind of a big piece of news. The Assassin's Creed Infinity appears to be a live service game, which is fascinating. And I mean, I don't know how to make this, come out in a nice way for me. But essentially, I think that's shit. Like I just don't think that's going to be, a good thing. I think that's a shitty thing to do and a shitty thing to have. But, who knows? Who cares what I think, right?
Yeah, I'm not super keen on it either, but it is what it is. I don't know. It's one of those weird things where I I'm after the last couple Assassin's Creeds, while they haven't been terrible, I just cannot get into them anymore, and I really would like to because I do enjoy some elements of it, but
Right.
I'm not super excited about a live service Assassin's Creed game, as the games are already kind of too much for me. I mean, playing through Valhalla is just exhausting.
Yeah, yeah.
And the idea of that being entirely live is just sounds awful. I'm sorry, but it does not sound enjoyable by any means. I enjoy a good MMO too, and that's but I just
I
don't
enjoy a good MMO.
and I just don't think it has what it takes to be a good MMO. Uh, I could be wrong, right? But I just everything about this just seems terrible to me.
I mean, do you think that they're doing it on the basis of just a money grab, or
I would assume so. I mean, that's a constant flow of money in for these live service games. I mean, they do exceptionally well. So I could very much see that this is definitely a bit of a money grab. Of course, they're trying to say it's not, right? And
yeah.
why would they? They're not going to come out and be like, so this is because we like money. Even though we know damn well that's probably what it is. But
Right, yeah.
I think it's a mixture of a couple things. I think they're running out of main ideas to do full-blown games.
Sure.
And so I think if they can do a kind of multi-location setting like this, I think they can keep it alive for a little bit longer. They also did note that fans really have wanted more of a coherent experience as far as the, but ultimately I think it comes down to they saw how much people make off of live service games and they want a piece of that fucking pie.
Sure, yeah. No, absolutely. I guess I'll run through the story. I might as well read our copy, right, that you beautifully wrote. But while rumors were flying wild this week, Ubisoft put out a formal news article that told us close to nothing other than the fact that the next game will be a multi-studio project, and hinted that it could be an ongoing project. So going forward, the rest of these notes will be things that we've heard through leaks. So take them with a grain of salt as always, and most of these rumors come from, God damn it, he put the grape-loving friend. Jason Schreier at Bloomberg. Okay, so it's going to be a massive online platform that evolves over time. Okay, it's going to include multiple settings that will somehow all be connected in some way, shape, or form, and it's supposedly still years from release. So the other rumor too on this is that they aren't just going to make Assassin's Creed Infinity and then that's it for Assassin's Creed. They're also going to make, like, your normal Assassin's Creed games as well going forward. So
yeah, it does seem, I mean, probably more spaced out than what we've been getting, though.
Right, yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Working on
I mean, I would assume eventually they'll die off.
Yeah.
And this would just be the model.
Part of me is kind of surprised that we've made it this far and still have Assassin's Creed games, to be perfectly honest. Like,
yeah, no, that's fair.
It's
that's
one
fair.
Of
I mean,
franchises that just doesn't seem to die.
I mean, there's been a lot, for sure.
Yeah.
There's been a ton of them, actually. So I feel you on that one for sure. So, I mean, I guess on this, hey, that's kind of neat. I mean, everybody wants to go to these games as a service models and make an ass load of money. Let's be real, right? It's a business at the end of the day. Yeah. And, cool. I from what I've seen online, nobody wants this, which was actually confusing to me because I don't know. And perhaps I just read things poorly, but like, I thought people would actually enjoy this or want this.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are actually burnt out on this kind of typical model, this Assassin's Creed game every year, every other year type of thing. So I think the burnout's very real from these games as a whole, but I think a lot of people just don't have faith in this live service game because I mean, we've seen it in Destiny where people are getting sick of Destiny and in the things that they've tried to pull with
Yeah.
crazy microtransactions and 8 different types of currency.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, where these live service games seem to do the best is when you're talking about a full blown MMO, like basically WoW or Final Fantasy 14. Those are
Mm-hmm.
like the two top tier like massive MMO. That seems redundant. MMO games that bring in a constant flow of money in this live service format. And it doesn't, I mean, they seem to work okay as far as giving the studio revenue, but they get a lot of pushback. Like, again, Destiny is the one that really comes to mind where it is this live service, but I mean, it's lost countless people to the actual like experience as a whole. I mean, I used to love Destiny and I can hardly stand to play it anymore because there's just too many different types of currency, too many different hoops you have to jump through in order to get caught back up. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't seem to work very well, especially in a console landscape.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree. I fully agree. I mean, they want to do what other people have done, and I think Ubisoft makes great games, but I don't think Ubisoft makes a good live game.
right.
And on this scale that they're kind of dreaming up of, right? I mean, I just don't see it.
I mean, and we also have Riders Republic right around the corner that also appears to be some sort of a live service game in some way, shape, or form. I mean, as far as having a battle pass and things like that. So I mean,
Yep.
they're definitely trying to get into this realm and bring in some of that constant income rather than having to churn out DLC constantly. They'd rather just work
Mm-hmm.
on smaller little updates and things that they can push out and get people to play. And I I I don't know. I don't foresee this going well, and I'm personally not excited for this at all. I will not be picking this up. I made the mistake of buying Valhalla. I've played 22 hours of it, and I don't have any intention of returning. So
But they did updates, right? Like the updates helped or no?
a little bit. I haven't played for months at this point.
Sure.
Like I have other things I'd rather be playing, so I do have it on that back burner, and I may eventually go back to it. And but right now it's out of sight, out of mind. So,
Gotcha. Cool.
but so Nintendo announced. I, I don't even. um, so the Switch Pro that has been rumored for a very long time is not coming. At least not
No,
now.
you're not
Instead,
getting it.
Nintendo announced the very cleverly named Nintendo Switch (parentheses OLED) parentheses, which um, is a the same Switch with a better screen, slightly larger, goes up to a 7-inch screen rather than the 6.2-inch screen. It will cost you more money though when it does launch. It will be $350 rather than replacing the original Switch and dropping its price down a little bit. They more went for the method of going to $350 and hoping for the best while keeping the regular Switch at its normal price point. Except for I did see that the regular Switch has dropped about $20 in Canada. So there is that.
It's
That's the
already
only
over.
thing
Yeah,
I've
but it's
seen.
already
But,
fucking overpriced in Canada. Let's be real.
well, yeah.
It's like fucking what, 250 in Canada or 350 in Canada already.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's fucking stupid. I mean, it's like $90 for like a new game in Canada. It's stupid.
So this will be dropping October 8th. They had a whole kind of like 2-minute presentation. This was literally announced in a tweet. Like it
Yeah,
was
just a video
no,
and a tweet. It's kind of
yeah, a
crazy.
video and a tweet. That's all it was.
Which I get it. I mean,
Okay.
I don't think you needed this at a
Right.
direct, honestly.
So yeah, and this will launch October 8th. They showed this off. It's got a white dock that also adds in the
LAN.
LAN. Thank you. The
Welcome.
LAN connection into the dock, so you don't have to have that USB adapter. The Joy Cons are also white, which are kind of cool. I mean, it does look very sharp. You will be able to buy the dock separate if you do just want the dock. Other than that, I mean, there are no internal upgrades to this system
Well,
at all.
there's better speakers, so that came out after. There are quote enhanced speakers.
Well, I mean from a performance
Yeah,
standpoint.
yeah,
And
yeah.
there's a better kickstand.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Supposedly.
So let's start with the screen. 6.2 to 7 sounds really small. It makes a big difference. I mean, I'm gonna give them that. It's decent. I mean, it's like the same as you going from like I used to have like a normal iPhone, and now I have like the Pro Max,
Yeah.
and it's huge. But I love it. I love how massive my phone is, and I'll probably never go back. And then, yeah, you've got the kickstand, which is great. I wish that they would bring that to the one that's out now, because so many people break their fucking kickstand off.
The quality of that kickstand is still questionable, though.
Yes.
Because we haven't seen it, right? It does have different positions it can lock in at.
But
things,
it's wider. You would imagine that because it's a bigger piece of plastic, and it's got different angles, too.
I hope so. Because after seeing the original the original Switch's kickstand, I have no hope that this is going to be a solid kickstand. I have to see this thing first. And honestly, the good thing about this is once this actually comes out, somebody will replicate this backplate, and I will buy one off of Amazon so I can install it on my Switch. And I am absolutely looking forward to putting that onto my Switch from some third-party seller. It's going to be great.
God. Yeah, I'm looking forward to just having a bigger screen on the Switch. Less bezels, the better, because that sucks. But then, yeah, also, there's a couple more things. So then there's enhanced speakers inside of it. You've also got, like you said, it's in white, okay, which is cool. It looks great.
It looks very good.
Looks phenomenal in white. Then you've also got the added sense to where you've got the memory card, which, I mean, it just basically comes with a SanDisk 64 gig memory card, or sorry, 32 gig to be a total of 64 gigs out of the box. It's $10 for that.
Right.
Okay, cool.
All right.
And then the LAN adapter, like you said, in the dock. I mean, it's $11 on Amazon for one of those. So, I mean, that's... So it is what it is.
Here's my thing. I think that this is a good upgrade to the Switch, but I think it should have came in at the normal Switch price, drop the normal Switch down a little bit in price, sell through that, and now make this your main Switch. I also think that the reason this is so disappointing is because we've had rumors of a Switch Pro for so fucking long at this point. And now, and it feels so lackluster. It is not a bad addition to this Switch library, but it seems unnecessary. It seems like it is half of what, or not even half. It's like a quarter of what people actually wanted. A better screen and the LAN adapter, but
it's a quality of life update, though.
Yeah,
to a product,
for
right?
$50 more.
Yeah,
which,
well,
again,
I mean,
is $50 less than what it costs to buy a PlayStation 5 digital edition.
No, I agree on that. I agree on that.
$50 more than a Series S.
Let's be real though. Like,
crazy.
I think their pricing is a little fucked up because of materials.
Yeah.
Right now,
that
like
could be,
I think that
also,
hurts a lot of things.
It's also Nintendo, and they this price point doesn't surprise.
Well, it's also
me.
an OLED screen,
right?
So I mean, there's that too. There's a big difference. I mean, my biggest grievance with the whole thing, as a total, is that the OLED screen. Everyone's like, "Oh, 4K." I don't give a shit about that. Let's get to 1080 on this screen first.
Jump from 720 straight to 4K. How about
let's just get to 1080p on this screen in handheld mode.
But so yeah, and with that OLED screen, but I mean, I get where you're coming from there, but I also like the Switch has not gotten a price drop in 4.5 years.
Doesn't need to.
It doesn't need to, but it seems odd to come in higher on this one. I understand they can because it's Nintendo and people will buy it anyway.
They can.
Yeah, they can do whatever the fuck they want. I understand that. But it's just disappointing to me. Like I at least have like Bluetooth adapter built into this thing too. Like things, just that's a quality of life improvement that would have been much appreciated. Love to see.
Yeah,
and that's relatively minor. You can buy an adapter, I know, but
I
God,
mean,
it's
I
just
personally think just the materials in general, upgrading
they
the
didn't
plastic to more of a textured plastic at the least.
bet the Joy-Con still drift within 4 months too.
Oh boy, oh boy.
I
Um,
I fixed
so
a lot of
so
Joy-Cons. I'm a
so
little salty about it.
so here's you've fixed a lot. So here's my theory on this is that and why there's not a price drop. I think that this is just going to be the normal Switch. So they are going to over the next however many months it's going to be, probably a lot because they have they've got a shit ton of Switches built. And a ton of that stuff to come from overseas and stuff. But I think that they're going to eventually replace a Switch with this one.
Yeah, just
And
like
that's
what
what
they
you're
did
gonna
with
have.
the battery upgrade, right?
Yeah, and it's going to be, this is going to be it. It's going to be, the 350 as it states right now. And I think a lot of that honestly is, I think that's what's going to stand at. Because you're going to sit there and be like, cool. Well, here's the problem, right? Is when you bought a Switch from day one, like let's actually look at the upgrades here from like the perspective of someone buying one. Mm-hmm. So when you bought a Switch out of the box, you had not a lot of memory on the Switch.
Yeah.
Maybe at the start it was okay for a couple games, but now the games have gotten exponentially bigger on the Switch.
I mean, Monster Hunter Stories is like 18 gig, I think.
Yeah, so I mean that's going to take up half the thing, right? Yeah. So at least in the box, or actually in the system itself already, you're going to have another 32 gigs in it. So that's kind of cool. However, I could go buy a 100 gig card for
$20.
$20, 25. Yeah,
28 gig card is like $20.
Yeah, and there's sales all the time too.
256 for like 40 to or 30 to $40.
Right, but general public, they don't fucking know that. They don't care. Right. The stand, great. Solves an issue. I'm sure it's going to help Nintendo out in the long run too. If it is more durable, I hope to God it is. The screen being bigger and it being OLED, they're probably having a lot of problems with an LCD screen. Heat issues. You let it sit out in the sun, you can get discoloration. You let it go into people pressing on it too much for the touchscreen. It gets more issues. There's going to be more vibrant colors. It's going to use less battery to do the OLED screen. It's going to have deeper blacks, which is going to be fantastic. You don't have to light the whole screen the way that OLEDs work or that OLEDs work. So, I mean, those are cool things. My beef is honestly with the fucking video game community.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's bullshit. Because everyone's like, oh, they didn't do this. What did they have to live up to? Those were all fucking journalist rumors.
See, I didn't want much. So again, my hang up on this is all these fucking journalists have been pushing out all this shit about the Switch Pro for 2 years now?
Oh my God,
absolutely
easily.
insane. So then Nintendo just shadow drops this thing.
Yeah.
My beef with this is there's a few quality of life upgrades here, but if it's going to replace the normal Switch, which I agree, and like I said, I think they should drop the price of a regular Switch right now and put this at normal price because I don't. If
this is what would compete right now. Like this is the bar that should be set.
Right, but the other problem here too is when the Switch originally launched, it was already underpowered. We are now 4.5 years into this console, and we have no upgrade. It can barely handle running half the games. We're now to the point where half the games that come to it have to go through the cloud in order to play them.
Yeah.
They have to be streamed because the console can't fucking handle it. And I mean, it's just it's kind of crazy. We now have, I know they're not direct competition, right? But we just got the PS5 and the Series X, and they make this thing look like a fucking Tinker toy.
Oh, absolutely agree.
And I mean, I adore my Switch. I probably spend more time on my Switch than I do anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing to me is we do really need this upgrade because it's struggling. It struggles to run games that were created specifically for the Switch, let alone anything third party. So we desperately need an upgrade, and this isn't a bad upgrade. I don't know if it's a $350 upgrade. I certainly am not going to be purchasing one because I have a Switch that works fine.
Hmm.
I honestly prefer my Switch Lite still to this day. So to me, I would rather buy that, but having the home console version is definitely worth it too. I don't know. I wish there was a few more quality of life improvements here,
Hmm.
and I would be probably a little bit better with it. But I really think it should have came in at the normal Switch price point and then dropped the normal Switch down to $250 and sell through your stock. And now this becomes the main Switch
So
rather than jumping the price up.
I agree with you. I think that there should have been some other quality of life updates. The only reason why I don't think they would do a Bluetooth thing is because the battery's not good enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to drain the
sense.
shit out of that.
Yeah, that's
right.
fair.
So, I mean, again, I just don't understand why. And I know you're not stunned at all. You're not stunned that Nintendo
No.
did this. I mean, you and
I'm
I
not
always
surprised
joke around.
by
And
any
these are the
means.
people that sold us cardboard, right? So that you could play with. I mean, we're not nothing.
$75 a piece.
Nothing is out of the question, right? When it
No.
comes to what Nintendo's going to do. But I just can't understand how through video game journalism. I mean, this company did 6 versions of the fucking 3DS.
Yeah, fair enough.
like
right?
like there's and people said, oh, this is a quality of life, okay, cool, right? 3 versions, and then they did brighter screen and then bigger screen, and then you had more cameras and shit on it. But I mean,
but each iteration of that at least did offer some performance improvements.
yeah, well, I
some
mean, they
extent,
eventually
I
had
mean-
the new 3DS, yeah,
Right.
for sure. I mean, they
But-
eventually got there.
Yeah, each one was yeah. I mean, I surprised. I imagine we'll see about 4 more versions of the Switch, and I honestly don't think we're going to see a Pro Switch. I think we'll get a Switch 2 essentially, or whatever it's going to be. 'Cause
No,
think-
I fully agree.
I think Nintendo will switch with this hybrid or stay with this like Switch
Oh
hybrid.
yeah,
console thing.
it's such an easy
It's
platform.
so good.
I mean, you can
but-
pop an SSD in that
Yeah.
next time around, and
Right.
and you're laughing, and I mean, it's a tablet. It's a tablet.
And all I want from the next one is 1080p handheld, and you don't even have to hit 4K on the docked version. I don't give a shit. As long as
Yeah.
I can get 1080p, I will be happy with this thing, right? But that to me, that the fact that we don't even really hit that is disappointing.
Yeah, I will
but-
say the differences between LCD and an OLED screen are going to be very drastic when you're
Right.
playing your games handheld. Like, there's going to be a big bonus to it. But yeah, I mean, to not see 1080 is ridiculous. But to go on your point earlier too, on it feeling outdated, like it feeling like a tinker toy. I think, and obviously, and I've heard this a lot on different shows over the past couple of days since like this has been announced, and just different podcasts, and they're like, oh, well, this is what Nintendo does, right? Like, I mean, one had mentioned that they really haven't tried to keep a balance in any sense since like the Nintendo 64 in terms of performance between its competitors, right? That's not what they do. They have
Right.
unbelievable IP that people will buy and play, right?
But
But-
1080p doesn't even compete with.
Right.
I mean-
but now the difference is, right, is that like if you look at like Xbox 360 to Xbox One, there's a pretty good jump. But when you look at Xbox One to the Xbox Series X, and from the PS4 to the PS5, it is an exponential
Oh, it's
jump.
massive.
For example, and we'll talk about it a little bit later on kind of PlayStation SSD stuff, because I've done a good amount of little research while I'm digging around, because I've got an M.2 drive and I wanted to see some specs on it and different shit. But for example,
Boy,
that
I need them to get that in gear. By the way.
well, you're not gonna like what I found out, but the I mean, the hard drive alone on a PlayStation 5 is 100 times faster performance than a PlayStation 4 Pro.
Yeah, that SSD
I mean,
they have
the
in there is impressive.
yes, and it used to always be, and we'll dive into it later, but it used to always be about the graphical processing. And now we're getting to a point with between machine learning and the silicon that we can change up and do different things with. Storage is key because storage is able to manipulate graphics now, not just a graphics processing unit. Right. So, I mean, that's what I think PS5 honestly is going to be a little bit better than the Series X in a couple of years. But we'll talk about later. But yeah, I mean, basically this leap I think is a lot bigger than Nintendo was expecting. And now they're caught a little bit behind. Like, when we were playing Mario Golf, I mean, like, I felt like I was playing a fucking GameCube game. I was fine with it. I was fine with it. It was fun. It was a fun gameplay. But it's like, I have this PS5 in my house. I go up and play Ratchet and Clank. I'm like, holy shit.
Right.
And then I go play the Switch, and I'm like, I only want to play it handheld because the games look better handheld.
Right. Yes, and that's exactly where I'm at, too. Honestly, when I was still playing on an Xbox One or a PlayStation 4 Pro, the Switch didn't feel so bad, right?
Right.
That's okay. I mean, it was definitely behind, but it wasn't that behind. Mm-hmm. Now I've been playing quite a bit on my PS5, and I've been playing on the Series X, and by God, when you go back to the Switch after that, it is borderline painful. Like, and I'm the type of person that I don't like to go play older games because they don't look great.
So don't play great either.
They don't play great either. But I mean, in this specific instance, it is jarring when you switch from playing on these new top tier, like, I mean, it's something that would rival a very, very expensive PC, and then go play on a Switch, and it. Like I said, that's why I play handheld, because it doesn't bug me as much. As far as a handheld goes, it's fucking fantastic. I love it as a handheld. But playing it docked, I mean, it's a little rough. And like I said, I'm not disappointed in this. I'm not going to buy it because it's not a big enough upgrade for me to justify it.
Sure.
Also, my kids have kind of destroyed my Switch, so it's not worth anything anymore. It's still around, but it's not.
I can't believe they kept the glossy plastic.
Yeah.
I mean, I was waiting for like a textured matte finish, and they have like right now it's like a grease magnet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they would have done a kind of a texture like they did on the like 2DS or something
like on the Switch Lite
or the Switch Lite, it's great. Great console. I love it.
Just a small screen, bigger bezels. They should do a Switch Lite OLED.
Yeah, but the bezels aren't even as noticeable because at least
it's like colored.
It's colored.
Body color
blends in with the actual Switch. It looks just so much better. But no, this isn't a bad upgrade, especially if you don't have a Switch. I would recommend going this route. But, it's all this stupid hype machine, just like what we ran into with
which isn't Nintendo's fault.
It's not.
It's the journalist's fault. It's bullshit.
Right.
And it's like, they're like, oh well, and then now the thing is like, well, they're going to come out with a Pro model eventually. I don't think so. I'm on the same side as you. I think normally we would see something.
Right.
But if anything, it's going to be new Nintendo Switch. Maybe, but I don't think
essentially a new generation at that point, right?
Yeah. But then the problem with that too is like even when it was on 3DS, that was like, I mean, 3DS was super popular, right? And Switches too, but like it wasn't a incredible upgrade in performance. Like they have to do a Switch 2, like you said.
Yeah.
To but I mean, then we also sit here and go, well, what do they have to compete with? Fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Still prints money like crazy, fair. Right? So it's like. Boy, I mean, what do you do?
But can you imagine? We get 3 years into this next console generation. People are making games specifically for this console generation.
Yeah.
Nobody can get any third-party games to run on a Switch. Not even Panic Button, who I swear to God are fucking
goddamn
wizards.
Magicians. Yeah.
Yeah, incredible over there. But once that third-party support starts dying off, Nintendo's gonna have to do something to keep that support, because there's a lot of people that still play third-party games on the Switch. I mean, I've seen countless people who have played The Witcher 3 on the Switch. That's fantastic. That's awesome. But in a couple years, that's not going to be possible unless it gets used as a cloud device. And that is also a possibility to where it opens up to the cloud streaming, which they have been doing. I mean, Hitman runs on it, Control runs on it.
Yeah.
What was it? Plague Tale runs
It
on
could
it.
be the bridge, the bridge that takes people to the next generation. But
Especially if they partner with like an Xbox or something like that, now they don't have to do anything because it's right there.
And then they can just put their Nintendo games on, a cartridge, and boom, oh my gosh, you're playing Mario Kart, and you don't really care about the graphics.
I do hope at a certain point we do get to a 1080p version of a Switch, whatever that looks like. I hope we get one, whether it's this Switch or it's a Switch 2 or it's a new Switch U. I don't care, but I would like to see at least a 1080p. I mean, 1080p is at least it's real rough.
Mm-hmm.
So
all right. Moving on from that, quickly we'll run through kind of some of the stuff coming to Game Pass while we're talking about Xbox. So July 8th, you can pick up Dragon Quest Builders 2. That's available on xCloud. Tropico 6 is going to be available via cloud, console, and PC. UFC 4 is going to be available on console only. And then July 15th, you're going to get access to Bloodroots on cloud, console, and PC. Farming Simulator 19 is going to be available via cloud, console, and PC. And The Medium is going to be available via cloud. So some additions coming to cloud there. And we knew this is happening. Obviously, they are bolstering up that side of things. They need to advertise it because not a single fucking person that I know that owns an Xbox right now even knows it's a thing, except for hardcore gamers.
They've been doing pretty good with the touch support on a lot of games too. So that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If you don't, I mean, you can buy a clip off Amazon for like $10 that you can hook up a controller to, but I have that Razer Kishi, so I'm really excited for that Dragon Quest Builders 2 actually to come to cloud, because that's a game I want to play, but it always strikes me as more of a game I would rather play handheld, I think. And so once that comes to cloud, actually it is available on cloud now, I will probably play it through through my phone and the Razer Kishi. I think that'd be awesome.
Fantastic.
Kishi, however the fuck.
Kishi, I think I don't know. I don't fucking know. Everyone's got weird names for stuff.
So PlayStation Now games for July, you got Red Dead Redemption 2, Neo 2, Moving Out, God of War, Judgment, Olympic Games Tokyo 2020, which still feels so weird to me that it's just still the 2020.
And no one's going to be at it now.
Yeah.
No spectators.
And NASCAR Heat 5. So
NASCAR Heat 5.
If you haven't played God of War, please go play it. Especially if you have PlayStation Now, and it's on sale all the time, you can pick it up for $10.
If you have a PS5, also it's free.
It's free, yeah. Red Dead Redemption 2, also another incredible game.
Fantastic game.
If you're looking for a good party game, Moving Out is great. I actually really enjoyed it. It's chaotic.
You know what we never talked about? 2 weeks ago? The Valet game.
Yeah. Very, very Valet.
Yeah, very, very Valet. Fantastic party game. Good. So much fun.
Good.
I mean, it's like this moving out and kind of like Overcooked kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's great mayhem, but it's like still controllable. It's still good. It's still fun. It was me and you and our wives, and we were playing that, and it was hilarious. Yeah. It was fantastic. We did like 20 levels or something crazy like that. It was messed up.
Very good. Very good. Played it on Switch, by the way.
Oh, did you? Yeah, that's right. We did. By the way, too, PlayStation Now doing a lot of advertising now for PlayStation Now.
They're finally
they have cranked it up. Now, I wish what they would do is they would change the UI in PlayStation Now. It's a little confusing, a little outdated looking. I think that'll come in due time.
It is also now in 1080p, so there's that.
Yay! So, I mean, yeah, it's cool. Sony's game is, I mean, they don't have a lot of database hardware and stuff like that. They don't have the cloud that Microsoft has with Azure, right? So, they've got to shop stuff out, probably either AWS or Google services is probably what they're using. Hell, they might be using Azure, who knows? That happens a lot. Yeah. I'm seeing more advertising for it. So I'm excited for them because PlayStation Now is great. I think it's fantastic. Moving on, Rockstar's Dan Houser may have started a new studio. So there isn't much to go off of here other than there was a company's house listing for a company called Absurd Ventures in Games. The company was founded on June 23rd and listed Dan Houser as the only director with no other details to speak of. So,
Dan Houser, obviously, if you don't know, he is one of the two founders, the Houser brothers that founded Rockstar, and are typically have handled most of the writing in the GTA games.
yeah, they did
And I
Red Dead
believe
Redemption
both
2.
Housers have now left Rockstar, or maybe one's still there. I can't remember. But Dan was responsible for like it was something crazy, like a huge percentage of GTA 5's writing. So it'll be very
And Red
interesting
Dead
to see.
Redemption 2.
Yeah, it would be very interesting to see how Rockstar Games how the writing is going
I,
forward here.
I think
But
he's leaving because he wants the freedom to write. And I think,
yeah, it's starting to get restricted by
yeah, I think
Take Two.
unfortunately nowadays people are getting restricted. And that's what makes Grand Theft. I mean, you know, people get upset about a bunch of shit all the time. You know, some of it's warranted, whatever. But the whole point of like the Grand Theft Auto series is to like, I mean, it's making fun of just the craziness of some American culture,
Hmm.
and you know, it's insulting in its nature, and it's supposed to be
Right.
because that's the entire premise of it.
And what I find very funny is that people really don't seem to get upset about GTA 5, even or GTA in general. Like
Yeah,
it pokes fun at all of these things,
well, they're
and
not upset yet, but you know damn
ha-
well GTA 6 comes out, and there's going to be
they'll be
something
upset for a
about
while.
there's not enough, you know, representation in Grand Theft Auto 6, and then they're going to do representation, and then they're going to say, you know,
Yeah.
it's
But
whatever.
they do walk that line very well to where they do include representation, and they do a very good job of including a lot of different demographics and things, while also still poking fun at everything. It's kind of
Yeah.
almost in the same vein of like a South Park, where it's a parody of everything. And probably less offensive than South Park, but I mean, they literally have a beer that's called piss water, right? Like
Yeah.
it's it's fantastic. I mean, they do a very good job. I am interested to see, if all of this does boil out and it actually is a new venture for Dan Houser. This could be really cool, and it'd be really
Hmm.
interesting to see what he comes up with and
I'd
what
I'd
they go
love
on to create.
I'd love him to do more rebellious stories with shame included, more like Bully. Like I'd like to
Yeah,
see him take on different thing, like a game about like just a police officer or something. Like maybe you're like a bad cop and a good cop or something, or like a
right.
game where you're like, you know, just something where there's that complete dichotomy of like,
Mhm.
you know, being the bad individual or the crazy individual in the situation,
Yeah,
in a
like
world
Trevor and
that you think is peachy and clean all around you, but then you realize that the rest of the world is just as fucked up as the character you're playing.
And I think that's something they did well in like GTA 5 through the
Yeah.
story mode
Oh
too. I
yeah,
mean,
for sure.
having
Yeah.
Trevor,
I
Michael,
mean, yeah,
and
Trevor was fucked up, right?
yeah,
But then you go and Trevor was poor and was fucked up and all this stuff and crazy. And then you go to Michael. Michael's rich, but his whole family's fucked up,
right. And
and
then
and
Franklin
his
had like
marriage is fucked
the
up.
the best head on his shoulders type of
Yeah, and then
thing, right?
Franklin was like, you know, low on money and in the ghetto and stuff like that, but he seemed to be like the saner of the two, but he also got a little crazy. But
Yeah.
like it just shows like that the world is not, you know.
All in a relatively small space too. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
pretty good size open world, right? But I mean, you have all three of these different like areas within this city, and I think they did a really good job with that there. And I think, like you're saying, if they did a good cop, bad cop, but also keep it somewhat light, right? Like have some fun with it,
No, yeah, for
have some
sure.
humor in there. Don't break away from that, but
Hmm.
they can definitely tackle a weird dichotomy, like you were saying, that is unique and something that really only they have been able to pull off exceptionally well, I think.
I think at all.
Right.
I mean, there's no. I mean, they set the not just the bar. I mean, they invented
Right.
the feeling of that in the game. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited to see what happens.
Yeah. Pokemon Go has surpassed $5 billion of player spending in
Good
game.
God.
Niantic has managed to hit this insane milestone just in time for its 5-year anniversary celebration. In the first half of 2021, the game has brought in $641.6 million, placing 2021 in the highest grossing first half of the year for Go since launch, which is hot off the heels of its highest grossing year in 2020 to the tune of 1.3 billion. So we're halfway through the year and we're right at about half of what they made in 2020. Again, the best year for the game.
This is crazy.
5 years after launch. To date, the U.S. accounts for 36.6% of the player spending, with Japan closely behind at 32%, and Germany third and very well behind at 5.4%. So clearly, U.S. and Japan is pretty much
USA. USA.
solidly holding this game up. Android accounts for 52.8% of the spending, with iOS trailing at a 47.2%. And Pokemon Go has been downloaded roughly 632 million times, with again the US carrying with 18.3% of these downloads. Brazil actually comes in at second, and India is the country accounting for the third highest downloads.
India, man. Crawling all into the internet now.
It's crazy.
Reddit did you see the whole war between Germany and India on Reddit?
Yeah, it's
Oh my
nuts.
God, it's crazy. It's a crazy war going on there.
I actually started playing this again recently just because my oldest has really gotten into it, and so I started playing it with him, and because I don't want to just walk with him and watch him play, so I was like I'll jump back into it, and it's fun. I mean it is a good time. I'm not devoted to the point where I'm like purposely going on walks for it or anything like that, but I mean I got it so I could send him gifts and things so he could get Pokeballs each day and stuff like that, just to kind of help him out. And I mean it's still great. It's still very much exactly. I mean it's pretty much what it was at launch, right? Like not a whole lot has changed.
Yeah.
But it's good, and it's cool to see it excel. And I mean Niantic knocked it out of the park with this game for sure.
When I was living in Illinois, in Naperville, me and Janelle used to go down by the river and catch Pokemon, and it was like a hotbed because
Oh yeah,
that
when
park
we visited.
yeah, you visit that park is like I'm come to find out later on, like in Reddit on a subreddit, that's like one of like the best spots in like America to go play
That's
Pokemon
crazy.
Go, like that Millennium Park and then Central Park in like New York City.
Yeah.
So, which is crazy. I mean, you just see hundreds of people all the time playing Pokemon Go. I never got into it that much, and the reason being is I liked more of the battles. I know that you can do that now. When I tried it, you weren't able to do that. You just went out and collected them, and
Yeah.
that was it.
That's
But
yeah, now they've added like a whole element where you don't even have to like go to gyms to battle and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So it's cool, man.
it is cool. It's neat. It's neat to have it. It's really cool that like it's in the whole Pokemon like ecosystem. So like you catch stuff and then you can put it in the game, and vice versa. I mean, it's really neat. So really cool to see. And I'm sure it's. I mean, I see Pokemon Go going on forever. So it's
I
clearly
imagine
not
we'll be
going to
around
die
for
anytime
quite
soon.
some time.
Resident Evil Village has sold 4.5 million copies digitally and physically. So from its initial release on May 7th to May 11th, the game had already sold 3 million copies worldwide. And by May 26th, Village had reached the $4 million mark, leaving the other 500,000 copies in the last month or so alone. So huge for Resident Evil Village. I mean, I know people really enjoy the Resident Evil stuff. I can't get behind it. I imagine they're really good games. They look like good games. Obviously, it's a very beloved series. I'm not into spoopy shit. Not my thing.
Me either.
I'm not down for that. Not down to get scared. I scare easily, so it's just not going to happen. And but yeah, I mean it's incredible milestone. 4.5 million copies for that.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, especially for a pretty niche game like this is, to some extent. I mean, obviously, as far as horror games go, this is top tier, right? But
Mm-hmm.
definitely, I'm the same way. I don't really get into spoopy games. It's more of a that's cool. I don't know much about the franchise as a whole. I've played a couple of them here and there, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Not my deal, but it's good to see it excel and sell very well. So Tencent is using facial recognition to detect minors gaming at night.
Jesus Christ.
Tencent has launched this initiative to help combat players
Oh, I'm
minor
sure.
players playing between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it's fucking for. Yeah.
As China's government has barred minors from playing the games into the wee hours of night. Tencent says we will conduct a face screening for accounts registered with real names and that have played for a certain period of time at night. Anyone who refuses or fails the face verification will be treated as a minor and as outlined in the anti-addiction supervision of Tencent Games health system and kicked offline. China began these measures back in 2019 to fight gaming addiction. This includes real name registration, barring minors from playing at night, and capping purchasers within games.
This is only within China, right?
Yes.
Here's my question. So you're Tencent. You're definitely not owned by the Chinese government.
Certainly not.
Certainly not. Definitely not. No connection. Why the fuck, if you're the Chinese government, would you go out and buy a ton of gaming companies only to then say, fuck you, you can't play them past a certain time?
From a business standpoint, doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Sure doesn't, Brody. What if I told you that I bet you...
to gather data?
So, I bet you in 2 months from now, we're going to read a story, or 3 months from now, that was saying that Tencent's games in the U.S. were illegally using fucking facial cameras without people's consent or knowledge and taking photos of minors' faces. Or just any player's face in general.
The bad part is, I think when they play these games, they have to agree to a terms of service that holds them to have their picture taken and their...
Yeah, I know, but I think this is going to happen in the U.S. without people knowing.
That will be a problem. Right.
This is fucked. Can I just say it? Nobody else will say it because everyone's a pussy when it comes to this stuff. When it comes to the journal, they are, because they're getting fucking money from them all the time. I'm not. I don't give a shit. This is bullshit. This is crazy shit. I mean, some kid stays up. It should be the parent, not, the government coming down on some child at the age of 10 already being like, you're fucking dishonorable to your fucking nation. Get off of the, get off of the fucking game.
So, yeah, and I agree 100%. It should be on the parents, right? But
it's China.
Well, yeah, it's China, but I also know of a lot of parents that will let their kids play as much as they want into the wee hours of the night, and
yeah, I get that. You know what's great though?
But granted, it shouldn't fall on something like this.
There's parental locks on every console.
Yep, there are.
So parents don't use it. Lazy fucking parents. Yeah. There, I'm gonna say it too. Nobody else says it. When it comes to that, if you let your kid, he's 10 years old, stay up to 2 a.m, you're a shit parent.
I have heard kids talking about playing games up until like midnight on school nights.
Well, then their parents are fucking stupid.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they're fucking dumb. That's a bad parent. Yeah. And if someone's like, "Oh, you can't say I'm a bad parent because you don't have kids," No, I absolutely can. I can sit there and be like, "Okay, cool." When you put a kid in the car, you put a fucking seatbelt on them, right? And then you drive. Okay, in this instance, you have the ability to use the seatbelt. You're not.
Yeah.
You're a fucking bad parent.
I am a parent, and I wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying.
Brody speaks for the parents. Because it's like it's a special fucking club to understand when you have to take care of someone else's fucking life.
Nope. It just just so you don't get too much backlash with
Jesus
somebody being like, "Well, you
Christ.
don't even have kids." I have kids, and I can wholeheartedly agree with exactly what you're saying.
Oh my God. You know what I
Parent your
mean
own
though?
fucking
Like
kids.
if you don't have kids, like it's like, oh yeah, my apologies. Yeah, I didn't spread my seed in my wife, let her fucking brew for 9 months, pop a kid out, and then all of a sudden I magically have the fucking powers of
Right?
a parent. I mean, come on. Jesus Christ.
But 100%, this is a fantastic way for Tencent to be like, "Hey, you got to give us your real name, and also we're gonna take pictures of your face. Also, can you make sure you have GPS on?
No, doesn't matter. Don't need to have it on. You've had it on this whole
it's
time.
on.
You never knew.
Just kidding.
Hey, remember that
Your
whole TikTok
Huawei.
thing? Remember the whole TikTok thing? Been listening to your calls too. Been looking at your clipboard history. Everything. It's fine. Don't worry about it. We don't need a fucking photo of your face. We know who you are already.
We got
just
it
want to kind of
already.
stamp you and put you in there.
This is just to double check it. Yeah.
I mean, when does the U.S. government step in and cancel the video game stuff? It's kind of a trick question because we talked about this last episode, I guess, where we're like, everyone's old as shit and doesn't know what they're doing.
Right. I mean,
You
yeah,
know?
in 20 years when the people that are actually, in power
I don't
play
see that.
games in their life.
I don't see
maybe?
that happening. I think because if you look at, so I used to think that the government will get there. You know,
Probably not.
it won't because the people that end up running for this shit are so disconnected from fucking society as a
This is
whole
also true. Yeah.
that they don't understand what's going on.
Right.
They're at the hotbed of everything centralized going into America, and somehow they miss it. I mean, if you asked Ted Cruz or any other politician, Ted Cruz, who's someone else from the other side, Nancy Pelosi, I guess, and you're like, Ted, Nancy, have you heard about this stuff with Tencent with the thing? Oh, China's bad. Yeah, I get that. We fucking know that, Nancy and Ted. We understand that. We get they're doing bad. Have you specifically heard about this Tencent thing and how much they own in video games? Oh my God, TikTok's terrible. We know. We fucking know TikTok. Do you know they also own all of this shit? And there's more data here than there is on TikTok. Oh, geez, I never knew about that. But let me tell you something. China's really bad. Yeah, we know. We fucking get it.
The perfect example of this too is what was it, a few years ago when the Lizard King himself, Zuckerberg, was in that whole hearing, and they were asking him all sorts of questions about how Facebook works and all this bullshit, and they had no fucking clue. They had no idea anything about it.
There was a senator who was talking to Zuckerberg, and he's like, when I search my name on the internet, it comes up with some conspiracy theories about me. What can I do about that? And Zuckerberg, I mean, he's a lizard, but he comes in and he goes, sir, that's Google. I'm just saying, they're like, this man's getting paid like the man who's sitting up, 10 fucking feet above Mark Zuckerberg in this like regal oak fucking desk that stretches, hundreds of feet across this marble fucking obelisk of a room. Okay, getting paid 150 fucking K a year.
Oh, he probably makes more than
Oh
that.
yeah. His salary is that, but then he's doing all of his inside trading bullshit, right? Representing tens of millions of people within his state of wherever, okay? Or maybe it's like fucking a million. Maybe he's like Delaware or something. Who gives a shit, right? So he does that, and that's the answer we get. That's our investment of 150K at a bare minimum.
Yeah.
That's what we get. That's our return out of our investment.
I wouldn't even be
Boom.
surprised if it was.
And it's like that at every. It's like that in every country. It's not known to America. I mean, people rip on America all the time. Politics. I mean, it's easy to rip, but whatever.
Clearly, China's paying attention to their video games. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
China's got that shit on lockdown.
So here's my hypothesis on this, and some crazy shit that's gonna happen. I really think we are going to head in the next year or two into a very lightish but Cold War with China from a hacking perspective. And I am very interested in seeing how this kind of shit works during that period of time. So, like, let's take this for example. If it escalated, right, with that country, I mean, our country would be like, hey, you guys can't play these fucking games.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, they would just shut it down.
Right. This is coming from the same people that don't even know how to log into their fucking Gmail. So
Yeah. These people using MapQuest still. Or the people
Printed
that
out
say,
the directions.
or the people say, hey, how do you get there? Never mind, I'll just MapQuest it. No, you won't. No, you fucking won't.
You act like they aren't breaking out the fucking atlas.
God, the AAA map.
Oh, good God. Yeah, no, this is yeah, if we get into a technological war of some
Not
sort
even just a
with
war,
anybody.
just like tensions. I mean, like
tensions.
let's not fucking
Right.
let's not, be peachy here about this. Like there's already tensions right now.
Right.
As is.
100%.
And they continually, like month by month, get worse and fucking worse.
Yeah.
So at what point do we lose what seems to be a quarter of the fucking games industry?
Yeah, no
Because
shit.
we've just let them go buy shit.
Well, I mean, Tencent is even in bed with Sony and
Yeah,
Epic,
Epic
Games,
Games.
obviously. Like, there's Tencent owns a lot of. I mean, also League, Riot Games.
Yeah, Riot
like,
Games.
Tencent.
Fair amount of digital extremes now, or
Yeah, Tencent's got their hands in
they bought
everybody's
they
pocket.
bought from the
it
other
seems
Chinese company.
yeah,
Jesus.
that could definitely be a shit show for sure.
Yeah, I mean, think about like media and stuff like that too. They own a lot of like companies and shit here.
Do they own Snapchat?
They own a large
and
chunk of it. They own a large chunk of
obviously TikTok.
news
Yeah.
media. So, what a
Oh, boy.
fucked up world. Yeah, we're going down that. That's gonna be great. We're gonna get some tweets saying that like I'm a fucking extremist or something. Kiss my ass. If you can't take reality, I don't know what to tell you. You're crazy. Moving on, PlayStation's July State of Play. We got a look at Moss Book 2, which is the follow-up game to the popular PlayStation VR game that came out quite a while ago. And it's often seen as a pack-in for the platform. So an adventure platform game where you play as a mouse. Absolutely adorable. It's making its way in a kind of like medieval like setting, which is awesome. And it was really cool, like how they were kind of just showing like the little gameplay that we saw of it. I kind of enjoyed it a lot. I really like that.
Yeah. That's a game that I wish I played, but I haven't bought a PlayStation VR yet. I'm waiting for this next iteration, and I'll probably pick that up and give it a go.
Yeah.
Because I really want to try VR. I've never really tried a proper.
What have
recent
you tried?
as far as
VR?
like, nothing. As
Really?
anything that's come out in the last 10 years.
Oh,
or
seriously?
whatever,
Wow.
I have not tried any modern.
The
VR.
last one I tried was I tried the Oculus Quest 2, and it's pretty good. I mean, it's nice you don't have the wires or anything, because prior to that, I had tried the HTC Vive, and it has a lot of wires at that time to it,
Right.
and it was cool. I mean, you stood on a mountain, and you're like, I'm on a mountain.
Yeah, I had
The games are getting there now.
I had considered picking up like an Oculus at one point in time, but I think I would rather have it a PlayStation VR, honestly. And
Yeah, I would want a PlayStation VR. I don't want Oculus because of Facebook.
well, yeah, and that was part of it as
I
well.
mean, call me fucking crazy.
I think I had looked at them prior to Facebook acquiring Oculus, though.
So you know who was an investor in Oculus early on? Cliffy B
Really?
made an assload of money when Facebook bought Oculus.
Oh, I'm sure he did.
He's like one of the first investors on board.
Huh.
Because it was just that one guy. It's like the 20-something-year-old kid that built the whole system. The first like rudimentary system, right?
Right.
But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, VR is growing for sure. I'll be interested to see the new PlayStation VR.
Yeah.
And like its complete capabilities. I mean, you and I play Star Wars Squadrons, and I don't know, like I guess I could maybe see the benefit in using that, because it was dizzying on my TV. But then I also sit there and go, boy, it was so dizzying on my TV. Is it going to be as dizzying in VR? And I don't know. I did get sick before though with VR, but a lot of stuff's changed as well. So we'll have to see. Then we got to look at Arcadegeddon, which is a colorful cyberpunk-esque multiplayer shooter. The early access is out now with a full game launch coming in 2022. So look out for that. By the way, the state of play, just so everybody knows, it's kind of like their Nintendo Direct-esque kind of thing. But this one was mainly focused around one key game and then a lot of third-party and indie titles, much smaller titles. We got to look at the Tribes of Midgard. So this is a 10-player survival RPG. And it showed off some post-launch plans as well. They're adding new seasonal content with new challenges, new loot, classes, and bosses are coming to it. We got to look at Fist, Forged in Shadow Torch. So it's a side-scrolling action platformer. You play as a rabbit with a mechanical arm and giant mech suit. It's launching on September 7th for PS4 and PS5. This is the sequel to Fist?
I don't know.
I mean, this is already a game, unless it's like a different version of it. But yeah, I mean, it's you know, the I didn't think the game was like that well received, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I thought it looked cool. Never played it though myself. Then we got to look at Hunter's Arena. It's a fighting game and battle royale, if they had a baby. And it's releasing next month on PS4 and PS5. It's free for PlayStation Plus members starting on August 3rd, and that runs until September 6th. So you can go out there and try it, which is cool. Then we got to look at Saifu, which is the fighting game where you age, which is kind of interesting. It's been delayed to early 2022, but essentially you're like, Bruce Lee style fighter. And you're essentially out there fighting, and then you'll age. So you start like, you're fighting when you're like 30 years old, and then you fight when you're like 36, and then you have different techniques and moves and different skills. So it's kind of cool. There's weapons use and stuff like that. Kind of neat to see. I think it'd be an interesting game to kind of play for a couple nights.
I don't think Fist was a game before this. I think this is the original one. It was announced last year.
Oh, it just never launched?
In July. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that explains a lot. I thought it launched already.
Yeah, it was first announced back in July 2020 as a PlayStation 4 game, and then shown off at the 2020 Game Awards as well.
Oh, okay. Cool. Great. Then we got to look at Jet the Far Shore, which is a survival adventure game in space. That's coming in 2021. Got to look at Demon Slayer, the Hinokami Chronicles. So it's an arena fighter of sorts set in the Demon Slayer universe. And retells much of the story from the series. This is releasing on October 15th for PS4 and PS5. As usual, we got a trailer that was extremely awkward, being a JRPG style kind of game. It's no music and just yelling. Then we got Lost Judgment, which is the follow to the Yakuza spin-off game Judgment. This is coming September 24th. Then we got to look at the Death Stranding Director's Cut, which is very odd and confusing. I don't understand it. There's like a red race car in there. There's a box. There's so many things that I don't get, and I'm told that I don't get it because I don't appreciate art. I think that's bullshit. This is coming September 24th as well. I just don't get it. That's what I'm told. I don't get it. I'm not refined. I'm a fucking slob when it comes to art, evidently. And I don't get it. Even though I design things, I don't understand it. I'm told that it's just above my level. It's above my head. Yet I sit there and go, this man has a baby strapped to his fucking chest in what appears to be a 1930s fucking Jaguar. That's bright red in the middle of nowhere, United States, evidently, and the earth has been completely ruined. But who am I? Who am I?
Yeah.
Yes, I made Toast a moderator. That's why. That is exactly why. Sorry, I didn't answer chat. My bad. I saw the chat going on.
Yeah. So, Deathloop has been oversaturated way too much. by the way.
Oh yeah, sorry. Then we saw more Deathloop.
Oh, I was typing and I thought you already said it. My bad.
Oh shit! No,
yeah,
no,
we
no,
saw
no.
like a 10-minute gameplay snippet of
Yeah,
Deathloop.
yeah.
I was actually interested in this game long time ago before it got delayed 3 times, and I've seen so much of it at this
Been
point
living in a
that
Deathloop.
it's so oversaturated that somehow it has made me care less about this game. The marketing for this has been just absolutely out of control, and it's in everything.
Yeah.
Any PlayStation thing has to mention Deathloop.
Well, I think
it
that's
is
also
insane.
because this is like their last game that they're gonna get from Arcane.
Right, for PlayStation.
Yeah. Like this is it, right? So,
yeah. Overall, I think this was fine. There's not really a whole lot that I'm super interested in here. I don't know. I like Demon Slayer, the series. I've been watching that finally and slowly making my way through that. I won't play the game though. Lost Judgment, I've never been into the Yakuza series, and I'm told that you're supposed to start from the beginning, and that's just
it's a lot.
a lot of gaming. So it's hard for me to jump in.
They're all on Switch now.
Yeah, there's just not a whole lot for me here currently. And it's almost weird to announce a PlayStation VR game when the new version of PlayStation VR is not out yet. I mean, I understand you kind of want to build a little bit of hype around it and whatnot, but I don't know. It seems a little odd. I'll definitely check that out once I finally do get VR and finally
I think
get a chance to
everybody's
try it
kind
out.
of like fucked up on the basis that like they don't materials and stuff and all this shit has been so crazy that it's like, look, we have the hardware, we have all this backlog of shit we've been working on for years.
Oh yeah.
We got to put this out there.
Right.
I mean, that's why Nintendo did it. I mean, the fucking OLED model doesn't launch until October.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Overall, I think I don't really have high expectations going into State of Plays anymore. I really haven't for the last few. And
I mean,
honestly, I think that's
they told
the better...
us what was going to be in it.
Yeah, and that's fine. I think that's great for them to get out ahead of it and be like, hey, there's going to be 10 minutes of Deathloop, and the rest are going to be pretty much indie games. Cool, that's awesome. And that's what you should expect. And people get upset because oh well, there wasn't anything cool in there. I didn't get an update on The Last of Us Part 4. I know.
Hey, that wasn't neat.
We've only had 2 parts, but that's it's, to me, it's just kind of one of those things that it's like, don't go into it with high expectations. This is how the last handful of these have been.
Yeah.
And I think these are fine. Again, none of these games are really in my wheelhouse, so I probably won't be giving them a go, but they look like good games. They don't look like bad games. They look like fantastic games that just aren't necessarily something that kind of tickles my fancy, I guess.
It's a very Midwest thing to say.
I know. As soon as I said it, I'm like, no.
Midwest
my
man strikes
Midwest is
again. Yeah, for Deathloop, like I'm kind of in the same boat, and I took to Twitter, which is not the bastion of truth, but it gives you a glimpse into some people, and then all the crazy people come out and just start yelling at each other after a while about damn near anything. But a lot of people have the same kind of attitude, same thought process of like, hey, look, I've seen this game a lot, like more than I probably would have of other, games. It's been delayed quite often, or a couple times now, and so I think it's dying a bit. I mean, it was nice to see the gameplay. The problem I have with it is like, it is not the game. Like, so if in the first time that they had done the trailer, which was years ago now, right? 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Something like that. Forever. Something like that. Like at least a Game Awards ago. Like 2 of them. Yeah. If they had done it and then also shown gameplay after, I think that would have been fine. But from seeing the first trailer and following this shit, and it may just be a me thing because, you and I have to follow all this stuff all the time. It's not at all what I expected.
No, it really isn't.
I understand.
I don't know what I expected, but I don't know.
I was almost thinking of it as being almost like a quick based puzzle where you have enemies, but it doesn't really actually take that long to go attack them and to get them. There's, you learn quickly and you have to solve the puzzle quickly, and you might like almost kind of speed run style is what I was kind of expecting. Like, oh, I died, and then there's going to be a guy here, I remember, on the left and the right. I need to, in that kind of stuff. And instead, basically, it's like in some cases, you have to die to understand, what is going on. And then the gameplay when they show with it, where it's the Alexi wolf person or whatever, you don't even get to shoot him. He just ends up falling to the grinder.
Right.
And it's like, okay, the
I
guns seem okay.
I assume it's gonna have like some Hitman elements of it, where it's like you
Yeah.
can get creative with how you go about it. But my big concern is how replayable is this game going to actually
I don't
be?
think it's very replayable. Well, there's a multiplayer, right?
Right, to some extent, but I mean,
But the
even then,
multiplayer is
it's
essentially
not.
a team fortress.
Yeah, it's not gonna change a whole lot. I don't know. To me, I'm not seeing enough here to justify a full. I don't want to say
Well,
that because
it's a
there's plenty
Dishonored
of
team,
content.
right?
Right.
Trying to bring what people loved in Dishonored, but the problem is that the last Dishonored that came out, everyone's kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's
I just
yeah, it's an interest. I don't want to play the same shit over and over again to find the
no.
clues. And like,
It's
I'm
the
not
same
down
reason
for
I don't.
stealth games to begin with, but
I don't do stealth and I don't do roguelites, so this really is not my game by any means.
yeah.
I think it's a cool concept, and I think it'll be interesting to see how people respond to it once it is released, and there's gonna be somebody that's like, I beat the game in 2 hours, and
Yeah, I
that's
really
it.
think that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I think
Like,
there's
I
gonna
was
be a decent
expecting,
amount of
I was
disappointment.
I was expecting, it only took 10 minutes to kill that Alexi guy that they were looking for,
Hmm.
but I was expecting where it changes consistently and constantly. So like, you go in and like Alexi's in this building now, or he's in another building, or he's not at the meat grinder, he's at a different thing. But for it to be story mode based like that, yeah, I mean, I don't know how long you can make it. And there's a point where if you make it too long to kill somebody, it's gonna be a pain in the ass. If you have to sit there for like 40 minutes and die 5 times
Yeah.
on purpose to learn more.
Hmm. And that's the thing, like if it is kind of a procedurally generated type of deal where it's each time the person could be in a different place, that's one thing. But then how do you actually learn the patterns if it actually a procedurally generated thing? So when you die, you don't actually gain knowledge. It's kind of this weird thing where you're either taking away your replayability or you're taking away the learning aspect of it, which from the way they've kind of pitched it, it makes it sound like each time you die is how you learn more patterns between these
Pretty
characters or
much.
whatever. So it's like there's going to be people that knock this out, like absolutely do everything in like 2 hours. Like, in
Yeah.
to me, it's a hard sell for a type of game that I'm just not interested in. And on top of that, with all the marketing and everything, I feel like this is just absolutely being shoved down my throat. Again, we pay more attention to it than most people because we cover it, right? We have to cover all of this stuff, so we see it constantly. But I'm just,
This
I
is going
don't
to
know.
come to Switch.
Maybe they PlayStation has an exclusive
That's right. They do
console
have
exclusive deal
exclusivity to it.
for at least a year, I think.
Yeah.
But there is a chance it could come to PC, which I saw some talk about today. Where if it comes to PC, there's wonder if it could actually come to Xbox Game Pass on PC, which would be interesting.
Oh my God.
The loophole, man.
The death loophole. They entered into a death loop. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. So before we close out, I want to kind of go through my findings on this SSD stuff.
Yeah, and I
Oh
wanted
yeah,
to
you do your thing first. Do your thing
Okay.
first, because then I'll
So
add to it.
I've now had a few weeks with my Xbox Series X and a what, 7 months with
6 or 7, yeah, 6.5 months, something like that.
about 8 months now with
Is it
the
really?
PlayStation 5. Yeah, 8 or 9
Holy
actually.
shit, you're right.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Good
Um,
lord.
and yeah, I've been lucky enough to get both of them. I ended up having to get the Xbox through the Xbox All Access, which wasn't how I planned to go about it, but that's how I was able to get one. And there's, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the differences between the two and things that I've noticed. For one, the cloud save on PlayStation is horrible. I constantly am getting notifications that the cloud save just didn't
So
work.
they put out an update today, not to
Yeah,
defend it, but
right,
some form of performance update that's supposed to help with that. But we'll
right.
see.
We'll see, right? But again, that has been an issue, whereas Xbox has been flawless in that
Mm-hmm.
regard. Um, the Another thing I noticed with the Xbox is when you set up the Xbox, it automatically will figure out what your TV is capable of and set your TV up accordingly,
Yeah, that's
which
nice.
is awesome. The PlayStation does not do that. You have to go in and do everything manually, and
Mm-hmm.
you could potentially be setting it up for something that it's not capable of, which not I mean, not really, because it just won't do it at that point. But the Xbox optimizes itself for that. Everything about my experience with the Xbox so far has been streamlined. Granted, I mean, not much of the UI has really changed or anything
Right.
like that, but the setup for it was so thorough and did all of the things that I had to go in and manually do with my PlayStation that from a from an average consumer's point of view, the Xbox is much more user friendly as
Mm-hmm.
far as that regard.
Which
It
sounds
does,
fucking crazy to me.
yeah, yeah. But the PlayStation, there's so many odd things that go on with like the PlayStation as far as like some of their UI is kind of wonky and
Mm-hmm.
the cloud
Mm-hmm.
save stuff, and like there's just a handful of things that I have a problem with as far as
Mm-hmm.
with how PlayStation has kind of handled this generation, because it is very much a new console, right? And so they
Yeah.
did go for the pretty much complete overhaul with it,
Yeah,
which
yeah. I was
is
gonna
kind of
say
nice to
it's
see. It
reinventing the
feels,
wheel versus
yeah,
tweaking what
right.
was, functional to some aspect.
And one thing also with like the PlayStation or the Xbox Smart Delivery, that was a feature that when it was first announced, I'm like, okay, this is fine. It is incredible how much better that is on Xbox, because PlayStation, it's all manual. You have to go in
You
and
have to
make sure
select.
you download a specific version of the game,
Mm-hmm.
whereas Xbox pretty much does it for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that, I mean, people could be sitting there playing the wrong version of the game for
We've
forever
done
and
it.
not know.
We've done
Yeah,
it.
we did it.
Which game was that? That was
I think it was Call of Duty, wasn't it?
yeah, it was Call of Duty.
Um,
I had downloaded the PS4 version.
yeah. But there's so many things that I really think Xbox has done a great job with. The other
Mm-hmm.
one is the quick resume feature. Awesome. Fantastic. That was another one that I'm like, this is dumb. I mean, not dumb, but it seems like one of those things that,
It's gimmicky.
okay, cool, a little gimmicky. It's fantastic. It literally will hold like 6 games at least in that quick resume
It's
feature,
crazy.
and you can seamlessly switch between them, and it's like a couple second load time, and that's it. And you're back into the game exactly where you left off. So I've been playing Scarlet Nexus,
Mm-hmm.
and my kids will play the Xbox
Mm-hmm.
during the day or whatever, and I come home when I want to play Scarlet Nexus, I can load it right up, and I load exactly into where I was at.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to go through the boot screen or anything like that. Everything is just seamless there. So there's a lot of things that I've just been very, very impressed with on the Xbox. And I love my PlayStation. I love the Xbox Series X, and I think they're both fantastic consoles for what they are. But from a user standpoint, I really think the Xbox did a way better job than what the PlayStation did.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, if
up
you're an
until
Xbox user too and you try to go to the PlayStation right now, it's confusing. I mean, like
it's
the fact
very
that I
confusing.
can't hold down the PlayStation button to just shut the
Shut off the
system
console.
down or have a sub menu, right? Like a little
Right.
pop-up menu, like you do on Xbox, is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah,
But that's a quick
it's
change.
almost
right? I mean, they can change it.
It's almost to the level of like how iOS is usually way more user friendly. I truly
It's more
believe that
stupid proof, yeah.
yeah, Xbox has done exactly that with a console now, and PlayStation is more Android, where there's a lot of shit you have to set up
Mm-hmm.
manually and do yourself, and that's fine. But it from somebody that or for somebody that doesn't know much about gaming or doesn't know about different resolutions and things that TVs can do and different inputs and all this stuff like that, the fact that the Xbox does that automatically is
Mm-hmm.
fantastic to make sure people are getting the best version of the game and getting it at the best resolution and best performance that they possibly can. It they just I can't speak highly enough of how they've actually handled this, and it's very, very impressive. And I was very much in the camp of like, hey, this PlayStation is incredible because that's what I've had, and I still love the PlayStation and I still will absolutely play both, but I cannot recommend Xbox enough this generation because I really do think they're doing some great stuff. And on top of that, with Game Pass and everything else, I I mean, in cloud, like
Mm-hmm.
you can literally sit here, play on your Xbox, and then say you still have an Xbox One, you could go play on your Xbox One now and pick up in the save point exactly where you left off, or you can play on the cloud version, pick up exactly where you left off.
Mm-hmm.
The remote play works way better than what PlayStation's does.
Yes.
PlayStation's remote play is not good. I actually downloaded a third-party app to get a better PlayStation remote play experience.
It's supposedly a lot better on iOS, but yeah.
Right, yeah.
It is. It works pretty good on my iOS device,
Yeah.
but yeah.
But I mean,
Still.
it's so seamless in the way everything just perfectly syncs together and all that. All your saves are on the cloud like they are supposed to be. I've heard horror stories of people losing their entire like Final Fantasy VII save file because now you have to I mean, that's an entire mess how you have to update to play Final Fantasy 5, the PlayStation, or Final Fantasy 7 on the PlayStation 5 version. And with the new update, it's an entire mess, especially with the digital console, which now some people are just shit out of luck there. So it's crazy. Just I can't express it enough that Xbox did a fantastic job with making this transition into this next generation as seamless as possible.
Which is fucking crazy because it's Microsoft.
Because it's Microsoft. Meanwhile, on the other end of Microsoft, most PCs aren't even going to be able to run Windows 11, so there's that too.
And as far as I can see, most of the things expressed in Windows 11 was rounded corners.
Right.
Welcome to fucking, Mac OS X.
Meanwhile, you have to have a fucking state-of-the-art PC in order to run the damn thing.
Oh my god,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
But
We've
yeah,
changed.
on the Xbox side, great. So I just wanted to touch on those things because I've now had some time with both consoles. And
so what do you actually like more though?
That's tough. I really, really enjoy PlayStation's new controller.
I mean, I guess the question I should say more is like, I mean, the controller, yes, I will stand by the PlayStation controller because I played the Series X at your house and I picked the controller up. I'm like, this is just a little beefier of a. I mean, it felt a little bit more rigid.
Build material was better, but
you don't really want to fuck with that controller because it's a really solid controller.
It's
but
pretty much
the adaptive triggers, once you have those,
it's
a game. It's a game changer, pun intended.
I don't know.
What is the best system right now with the game? Because it's about games.
Yeah, well,
like that's my big thing, right? Is like, yes, UI, I get it, totally understand it. I'm a huge UI person, but like if you go on value right now, like I owned both systems before.
Yeah.
Am I getting more feel of a next gen system right now out of the PlayStation because of the games available or because of the controller, the UI, and the games? Or am I getting more of that feel from the Xbox because of the controller, the UI, and the games?
You are getting more of a next-gen experience from the PlayStation right now. 100%.
But If I'm Xbox and I come out with more games, let's not say like incredible games, just next gen games.
Yeah.
If I'm playing those next gen games on the Xbox, am I still getting a feel of next gen, or am I losing it possibly because of the familiarity, like you said, that brings up? Because keep in mind too, right? Like you also you spoke on, like, I think the argument for a lot of people would be, okay, cool, yeah, but you owned an Xbox before, but that's bullshit because you just said like it also just does a bunch of shit for you, so you don't even have to have owned an Xbox before.
Right.
Mind you, I'm sure it was easier for you to navigate shit because you
Super
owned
familiar with the
one,
setup,
right?
right?
You're familiar with the actual UI itself, but
So as far as next gen games, they feel pretty much the same across the board for me. I mean,
okay.
I'm not sitting here pulling a digital foundry and like checking everything on them to see, what the difference is and this and
Yeah, yeah,
that,
yeah.
But I mean, Scarlet Nexus with the 4K and the HDR setup. I don't even know if it runs at 4K, honestly, but it looks gorgeous. Like, it runs
Mhm.
fantastic. Everything feels buttery smooth to the point where it's almost alarming how smooth it feels, right?
You know what I don't enjoy about this gen so far, especially on PlayStation? When Ratchet and Clank, the fact where you can sit there and be like, and they just had the update where you can have performance RT with the 60 frames per second, or you go into the fidelity mode, which gives you
Right.
60 frames per second, and then all of the graphic stuff. Just play the game
Yeah.
on the highest setting you possibly can. I understand you want to give me the difference between 120 and 60 and 30.
Yeah.
I mean, just by default, just make it that.
I think we'll get to that point, but I think with the consoles being as new as they are, I think they're just trying to optimize it one way or
So
another because they
Xbox
always
is doing
squeeze
that for you
more.
too?
No. Well, I haven't gone into the settings too much. I
Yeah, yeah,
really
but I
don't.
mean, it's
I
not
don't mess
popping
with the
up for
settings too
you.
much.
No, but like, so like on PlayStation, every game that I've played now
Mm-hmm.
that's been PS5 focused, so whether it was the remaster Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Ratchet and Clank, the
Mm-hmm.
first time you start that game up, it in a pop-up says, "Hey, these are these are the different modes you can play in."
Yeah.
It's like,
I
why
haven't.
not give me the best mode? Just
So
pick one.
I haven't really seen that, but I also haven't played a next gen Xbox game, right? So I
Yeah.
played Scarlet Nexus, but that released across both Xbox One, PlayStation 4, all that shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I haven't played a solely Xbox next gen game
Well,
because there really aren't
are
any.
none.
Right. Everything has just been an upgraded version.
Right.
And I usually don't go into the settings. I will usually leave it on fidelity because the performance really doesn't mess with me too much. I mean, I'm not seeing massive frame drops in any of the games that have come out so far.
No, I mean, but like, oh, you're not
Played
playing at 60 frames per second. It's like, okay, it's staying at a steady 30.
right.
Who cares?
It's hitting the 30 mark perfectly fine, and that's good enough.
And you're
for
getting
me,
your ray
right?
tracing and everything else. So I mean,
Right, and it just looks gorgeous. Like, I played all of Spider-Man in fidelity mode. I played all of Ratchet and Clank in fidelity mode, I believe. Yeah, that's usually the option I select because they look gorgeous. But
mm-hmm.
and I don't really care so much about the extra 30 frames per minute because it's almost jarring to me anyway.
It is in big
It fucks
fights
with
and
my
stuff.
eyes big time, right?
It's pretty crazy. It's okay for like Spider-Man when there's a big wide open space and you can use the sky as a delta in your vision
Right.
because it just looks a lot smoother. But once you start getting into fights at 60 frames per second, you're like, holy
Yeah.
shit! You got to do like a double take. It's like a blur.
So right now, as far as if you're trying to play upscaled games like with new PS5 versions, Xbox honestly does a better job of making sure you get that proper version.
Right.
Um,
Because it's confusing to people if they
it
don't
really
read
is.
it. I
It's
mean,
been
if
confusing for
yeah,
me, and
you
I
open it
navigate
up and
this
you're
shit
like,
all the time.
performance RT fidelity. Like the general public be like, what the fuck is that? We're
Right.
not reading.
No,
They don't
no,
read.
and most the average consumer is not going to spend a bunch of time going after all this stuff. Granted, in the first year of a console launch, most of the time the people that are buying them are not average consumers. They'll usually wait,
I agree.
right?
Yep.
It's usually pretty diehard people that are buying consoles in the first year of the launch, or scalpers. Um, on PlayStation, though, since they have had some next gen games that have launched, if you are truly after a next gen experience, especially with the adaptive triggers and all the crazy things that controller can do, that is technically at this point the better place to experience next gen. 100%. I thoroughly appreciate what Xbox has done to make it as easy as possible to get the proper version of games. And
It's fascinating to me because a lot of their marketing and leading up to this has been about being the most advanced gaming machine and powerful gaming machine, and that just cognitively to somebody would express that, you know, there's complication to the product.
Right. And I mean, yeah, absolutely. And
which might be hurting them.
Honestly, a lot of people, I mean, how many people probably don't even have TVs that can run some of this shit, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, how many people don't have TVs that can do HDR?
Yeah, which has been commonplace for a couple years now,
yeah.
But most people aren't going out and buying a new TV every year. So, I mean, even one of my TVs, like the TVs I have in this room right here, have HDR 4K, right? They have that support.
Same with this one behind me.
That was something I actively went
out
and bought purposely for that reason, right? Because I was trying to future-proof myself a little bit. But I don't think either of my other two TVs in our house have that capability.
No. This is the only TV in my house that has it. We've got two TVs in the house.
Yeah.
The one in the living room, no. Does 1080p.
Yeah.
Actually, does 1080i.
Nice.
Downstairs, yeah. I've had that TV for like 7 years.
Good thing the Switch is hooked up to it then.
Yeah. Dude, it can hardly get 1080p.
Right.
Docked. So
yeah, it's I don't know. They're both fantastic experiences, but to actually see that new next gen on Xbox, to see what it can actually do with a game that is solely created with the next gen in mind, that will be kind of a true testament of what it can do and what it excels at, and where that line is blurred between the two consoles. Right now, as far as an actual next gen experience, PlayStation does it a little bit better, but Xbox is also still doing a fantastic job. They're not slacking. I mean, that console is fucking crazy powerful, right? And every game that I've played on it looks gorgeous, especially because I've only played really, Xbox optimized or Series X/S optimized games on it, and everything looks gorgeous. The frame rate's buttery smooth. Everything is just fantastic on it. But I mean, technically right now, PlayStation is really the only console that's launched next gen games. You got Ratchet and Clank, you got Demon's Souls, you got Spider-Man, and Returnal, things like that. And it is kind of hard. It's not exactly apples to apples right now. It's a little bit of apples to oranges, right? And they're both very fantastic. And I don't get behind console wars by any means. They both have their benefits in each place, but whichever console you choose to buy. No,
you just started a console war.
Yeah, probably. But whichever console you choose to buy, you're buying a fantastic console. I wholeheartedly believe that they're both incredible for what they do.
So do you want me to go into why I think this PlayStation is going to be far superior?
Yeah, now you're going to start the console war, you motherfucker.
Yeah, 100%.
You pony.
So I did some research and some due diligence on this whole. So I've been farming Chia for the last couple of months, which is a cryptocurrency, and you have to use an M.2 drive for it, and most of the calculations of processing of it is done via storage. Doesn't need to use a GPU like you would mine Bitcoin with, right? Or other cryptocurrencies. And so it got me fascinated because I was like, boy, storage is something that we really haven't. We've always changed capacity for the last while. I'm nerding out big time, but we have not changed the speed as much as we have with other technologies. And what's fascinating is if you think of it like from the standpoint of a car, it's like we focused on the engine, but we've never focused on feeding the engine as quickly as possible in the most efficient way with the gasoline or fuel that it needs, right? And so we've gotten to that point. So when the PlayStation, I went back and I watched the whole presentation from Mark Cerny, which, be it dry, I fucking loved it. I mean, I would love to have a beer with Mark Cerny one day or something. He's just fucking crazy guy. Um, when they were doing this stuff with the SSDs in PlayStations, at the time that they announced it was doing 5.5 gigs per second. Okay, which is an immense amount of data per second for
Yep.
something to calculate out, right? At that time they were doing that. At the time that they were doing that, really the highest level market one could do 3.5 gigs a second. All right. Now where we're at, the highest throughput and speed is around 7. Okay, but the difference is that the way that the SSD is made for PS5 is completely custom to the PlayStation 5 in terms of the silicon behind it. And that silicon feasibly can take what that 7.7 has and can blow it out of the fucking park because it dedicates streams for it. So like I started thinking, okay, cool. Would one be able to use an M.2, like a standard M.2 drive in it? No, not going to happen. Not going to be able to happen. It has to be a specific speed, a specific read write. Because if it's not, it can't run the fucking games properly at all. Like it has to pass through that silicon that's inside of the actual PlayStation 5 itself. So I started looking at pricing. I went, boy, what's the price of that? $4.99 for a terabyte. The problem is materials and supply chain shortage, and we're still waiting for Moore's Law to take ascend on that, right? And to lower the cost of that stuff. It will eventually. The M.2 drives will eventually go down in price. However, I don't think we're going to have the M.2 stuff be announced or released or anything for a very long time. Like, I fully suspect it to take almost a year and a half, if not 2 years,
Oh,
for them to feel comfortable in coming out and saying, hey, if you want to upgrade the memory in your system, the storage in your system, it's going to cost $500. It's going to cost as much as a fucking system. There's no way they're going to do that. There's no fucking way. Because, again, you can't plop in an M.2 drive. People are like, well, I'll just use an external. You can't. You can't use an external M.2 drive the way that it's set up. There's no USB 3.0 port that's capable of transmitting that data right now through that port into the silicon chip that they have inside of the PlayStation itself. Now, the benefit of this is that the Series X, the way it gets its power is through a processor, a GPU. And their processor is great, cool, it's fantastic. However, the way that Sony has done this with the SSD will blow out the fucking Series X in a couple years. Will blow it out of the fucking water.
Yep.
The way that they've built this.
That's what we've said since the specs were announced, too. I mean,
you can't change a GPU other than opening some cores, and they've fucking opened almost all the cores up. You can inject maybe some machine learning and stuff like that into it, but it can't do what the fucking SSD can do in the PS5. So yeah, I fully expect it to be at least another year, if not more, before they even come out and say, hey, here's what it is and here's what it's going to cost. Because there's two problems. There's the factor of the general public is not going to make the right fucking decision and buy the right one with the right speeds and read speeds. So Sony's going to have to team up with Seagate and offer like a Sony specific stick that you buy. Okay? Or the real heavy nerds are going to be able to go and be like, yeah, I can use the Seagate, X7245B, whatever, and it'll work with the PlayStation because it's the same model. So you have that, but then you have the price.
So, yeah, they the only thing that about that theory, which I'm not saying it's wrong because I wouldn't be surprised, but they also did say that it would be announced this summer.
I don't think so.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying they did come out and say that, which in hindsight was probably a bad choice.
Yeah.
Also, though, they said they were going to go through and find an official or make an official list of what would be up to standard according to their deal, right? But the other problem is counterfeits that get mixed in with Amazon orders. Even
Oh my
we
God,
see
yeah.
we see it in SD cards, even, right? So you can buy a micro SD card off of Amazon. It could say SanDisk on it, but what happened is somebody made counterfeits, sold them to Amazon. Amazon throws them basically in a big fucking bin, and then they just grab one. So you could order specifically from SanDisk's drop ship, basically whatever it, however you want to describe it, right? And get a counterfeit. And the same thing could happen with this eventually too. We don't see it as much in SSD, but it's very common in micro SD cards, and we very well could see it, especially as PlayStation is trying to get more.
Bro, I
more
bought an
storage.
external hard drive in college,
Mm-hmm.
and I plugged it in. I bought it online. It was cheap. I plugged it in. It was supposed to be like 500 gigs. It was 50 gigs. I opened the case to it. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It was a fucking thumb drive in the case with a female adapter for the USB, okay, to go into it. And then there was 7 fucking washers hot glued into the case to make it feel heavier.
No shit. But so that could be a potential issue. And also, if all PlayStation 5 games have to be saved to this internal storage,
not just saved, the future of this is processing as well.
Right. Well, I just mean from a very basic standpoint here,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like anything that's next gen has to be saved to this internal on both systems, unless you get the Seagate drive for the Xbox, right?
Which is fucking expensive.
Which is $220.
But a lot dumber.
Correct. But you can expand your storage right now.
Yeah.
PlayStation, you cannot.
No.
And that thing fills up real quick because it's only, I think once everything's said and done, you only have like 600 and something gigs on it. Because it was only like a 750 gig.
Yeah, it's some weird number.
But anyway, yeah, it wasn't a normal even number, right? But so that's going to be a serious issue because mine's been chock full pretty much since damn near day one, right? Like it did not take very much for that to be full, especially with fucking Call of Duty. That's just massive at this point.
Mine is not full yet, but I am also not someone who keeps a ton of shit downloaded on their system. I'll uninstall it and then I can just download it later. I mean, the combative thing here is because people be like, well, if you don't have the storage, you just have really good internet. As we've stressed numerous times on this fucking show, you have gig internet. If you drive 10 fucking minutes west, people have like 2 fucking gigs or 2 megs. Absolutely. Sorry, down.
Absolutely. Yeah.
People do not understand the pockets of internet across America, and it's not like this is the minority of America. The fucking majority of America does not have solid internet access.
It's the idea of not being able to upgrade my storage for another couple years is insane.
Yeah, I really think it's going to be, if they announce something, it's going to be, hey, we're working on dedicated sticks and you can expect those holiday something. But because the other problem too is there's not only the material issue and the supply chain issues, right. Obviously that renders to cost, but it's being duly fucked because of people like me who are just buying M.2 drives because they want to fucking farm different cryptocurrency because there's numerous cryptocurrency coming out now with M.2 drives, and that's way better than buying a fucking GPU all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, just crazy.
Like, in my household alone, it's me and the 2 kids that typically play. So, we have all beat Miles Morales, and now, but my kids like to go back through it again. So I can't delete the damn game off of my hard drive because my kids like to play it still. I'd have to delete the kids. That's right. So it's but it's so crazy to think that this is next gen and everything. And obviously, yeah, there's giant restrictions in what we can get right now because there's been supply chains that have been fucked and everything else, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not a normal console launch, right? But it's so insane
No, they
to
pigeonholed themselves.
right, exactly. And which like you said, later down the road is going to be a great thing, but right now it's a really bad thing
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot of people that are going to fill this up very quickly, especially as more games continue to launch and things like that.
Well, yeah,
And it's going to be a major thing against the PlayStation for a couple years or until this is a regularly available thing
yeah,
because I mean like I said mine's been full for months and I have to just constantly move shit around or
yep,
and get rid of things and it yeah I can run last gen games off of the external
external.
hard drive but anything new gen and new gen games are just going to keep coming and people aren't going to be able to upgrade storage. We've had upgradable storage since like the N64 for everything,
Yeah,
right? Like you could buy the memory pack for the
expansion memory
N64,
packs,
right? Or I mean GameCube, you had the memory cards
cards.
that had the blocks on it. Like everything has had this expandable storage, so people are so used to it. And so when you get to the point where yeah, once we can get these and we can install them into the PlayStation, it's not going to be difficult, but the problem is getting the damn thing. And if that's a couple years out, that's 2 years of not being able to upgrade storage, which is crazy when you don't even have a terabyte on the console to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot,
I
man.
also think people are and journalists are, from what I've studied on it, and there's a teardown and everything. I think people are overestimating to the fucking moon how many options they're going to have in terms of what M.2 drives they can buy. I really think you're literally only going to be able to buy one brand, one kind specific to it. And it's going to be Seagate.
Which they shouldn't have said anything about it then to begin with, because that is not how they've marketed this at all.
No.
Because they very much said this summer it will be announced and you'll be able to upgrade your storage. And they also said that once they'll have a list of M.2 drives that you can get to install at some point. And to say that stuff and then have to backtrack on it is not going to be a good look. And I'm there's nothing they can do about it, right? Because they pigeonholed themselves, just like you said. But they put the cart before the horse and said too much, and now they've put themselves in a real awkward position. Because I don't disagree with you at all. I fully agree that this is going to be a problem. But boy, from a standpoint of
$449 for a terabyte.
This is going to be a PR fucking nightmare for them when it does come out that if this is 100% how it ends up going, it's going to be bad. There's going to be a lot of people that have negative reactions to this big time. I mean, depending on how it goes and how long it's going to be, I mean, it could be very negative reactions to this over time. I mean, it could be also one of those things where, for me personally, I may buy Battlefield on Xbox just because I know I can upgrade the storage or I can do things like that to where third-party games may be bought on my Xbox now because that's the only thing I can fucking do. And just buy first-party games on PlayStation, right? Like,
yeah,
it's not a great situation to be in, and I don't think I mean, obviously they didn't foresee this when they were planning this console out for the last, 5, 6, 7 years.
I mean, they were, though, because they developed... Like
I mean,
when they
not to
when
this
they,
level though the problems
they
with
had
getting
but
supplies
I mean it was only a year and a half ago when Mark Cerny was standing on stage, and when he was standing on stage talking about the storage and the read and write speeds on it, nobody had that speed. Did not fucking exist
right
on this earth. Like completely groundbreaking tech.
right.
And I mean, they knew it's expensive as fuck. And Moore's Law, I mean, typically helps out a lot, but Moore's Law has slowed down a bit over the last couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially when it comes to this kind of shit. Because now we're just trying to get into the machine learning of things to make our shit work better for us.
And the pandemic threw a wrench and everything too. So they probably estimated that they'd be able to get costs down on these quite a bit, by this time.
No, absolutely.
But with everything slowing down, and I mean the prices are through the roof for everything right now, in that
Mm-hmm.
regard because
Mm-hmm.
people are mining, and also there's a shortage in general and all this stuff. So it's very. I think there's a certain element of it that is unforeseen, but I agree there when you're talking about doing groundbreaking things like that, you run the risk of,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, paying the same price as the fucking console in order to get another terabyte of storage.
Terabyte.
It's
Yeah, and people are gonna
crazy.
want to buy like 2 terabytes, 3, 4 to get it the fuck over with.
Yeah,
So you don't have to, because
and they
you
have a
can't
version of the
expand beyond
console that
that.
is. They have a version of the console that's solely digital too. I mean, granted, all games pretty much have to be downloaded anyway and saved onto a console, so it doesn't really matter too much. But it's just,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's gonna piss some real. It's gonna piss people off big time.
I don't
I
want to be
just
right.
I, I I don't think you're wrong, but I hope to God you're fucking wrong.
Same. God, I hope I'm wrong.
Oh man.
Anyways, that'll do it. Put on just a
Well,
sad note like that at the end on my findings.
I think this might be our longest episode, other than the one our 200th episode with WASD.
Yeah,
It's a long
definitely
one.
could be. It's a long one. It's a long boy. Guys, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Diggity Podcast. You can follow me on PlayStation. My PSN is Maple Jeff.
And mine is Luscious Brody. You can also find me on Xbox as at Luscious Brody.
Let's go.
Let's go.
You can find me on Twitter at God. I think I fucking changed my at. I think
Not Jeff James here.
I think I changed it the
Oh
other
my
day.
God.
I don't know why I did it. No, it is Jeff James here. At Jeff
Yeah.
James here. We're good. We're good.
You
I'm
can
an
find me
idiot.
on Twitter also at Brody Fultz, BRODYFULTZ. I don't post anything. I run the Diggity channel, so if you really want to follow me, you can just hop over to the Diggity channel.
Yeah, the Diggity on Diggity Twitter account.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Thanks for listening, guys. Please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Tell your friends we're available on all major podcast platforms. And we also stream live every single Thursday evening around 9:30 Eastern time. I feel like we should probably go to 9 instead of 9:30.
yeah, we probably should.
Yeah, this makes it a little bit easier. Not up as late. But until next time, guys, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you later.